Welcome back. Namibia participated in the 70th anniversary of the 5 Principles of Peaceful Coexistence in China at the invitation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People, Republic of China. The 5 principles are fundamental norms governing international relations and basic principles of international law. Joining us now via Zoom to speak on this is the Secretary to Cabinet, Dr. George Simata. Dr. Simata, thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Good evening.
Doctor, to start with, talk to us about how Namibia's relationship with China has evolved since the adoption of these 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, and perhaps what some of the significant milestones in their diplomatic history is.
Maybe it will be important to start with the origin of the 5 principles of coexistence in terms of history. I think we might know that these were the principles that were adopted by China, but together in consultation with Myanmar and India. Now, the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence are informed primarily by the peaceful culture and upbringing of the Chinese people themselves. They were adopted in 1953, and they become issues that has informed many nations on how their international relations or their diplomatic relations could be undertaken. Now, Namibia and China have enjoyed very strong and evolving relations since the formal establishment of the diplomatic relations in 1990. You may recall that the diplomatic relations between Namibia and China, as you correctly asked, are underpinned on the principles of the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. They emphasize the issues of mutual respect, non-aggression of each other, non-interference of other states' spheres, equality and mutual benefit. Now, it is for this reason that Namibia even supports and adheres to the principle of the One China policy, which is a testimony to the issue of friendship and also the issue of non-interference into other space. So these are important things that underpins our relationship to people's people and the importance of the principles of non-interference into other people's spheres.
As you mentioned, Dr. Simata, Namibia and China enjoy a long history, as the 2 countries together. Talk to us about some of the significant milestones in their diplomatic history and relations.
The milestone that has come, as we say, is more on the policies, on the principles that we have discussed earlier on the peaceful coexistence. You may recall that in 1990, China was among the first countries that established a diplomatic relationship here in this country. And it comes a long way. It doesn't only come from the time of independence, but even before independence. And the relationship have grown stronger and stronger in terms of trade, in terms of exchange of culture, in terms of political relations that have really become very, very strong. You have seen also the issues of the investments into Namibia by China, the issues of export of various materials of some of Namibian small products, particularly the beef, has gone over to China in big numbers, and we were the only country in Southern Africa or in Africa that was allowed export of our beef into China in the very beginning. So these are issues that point to the strong relationships that exist between us two as a nation and as a country.
And what has been the impact of Namibia's trade relations with China on its GDP over the past decade? And how does this reflect the principles of peaceful coexistence?
Over the years, you might recall that Namibia and China, as I said, have developed very strong economic and political relationships that have led to China being seen as Namibia's largest trading partner, and into particularly on foreign investments. And I think China is the 2nd largest trading partner of Namibia. And China in particular have participated in the past decades in very huge operations, particularly in the uranium and copper. And with this part of participation, the economic sphere of Namibia has been boosted extensively. There are issues that you might know that have come, particularly on the investment side and trade side, that the relations have become very big, and that is what has put ourselves together as a big nations.
Mm-hmm. Furthermore, in terms of their bilateral relations, we've also seen the Chinese government offering Namibian students scholarships to study in various fields. Perhaps you can talk to us about what impact this has had on Namibia's human capital development, Doctor.
China is a great nation, particularly in the IT and other areas. With their sponsorship, they have been giving in forms of grant to many of our students. We have seen many of our students that have enjoyed these benefits. We have so many students that are doing master's programs, students that have done PhD programs. And when they come back to Namibia, they help in the development of the skill sets that we have. We have now seen that we have discovered oils, we have discovered, we are now into green hydrogen. These are very, very new specialized skills that would need more type of new skill sets. Mm-hmm. And not talking directly to these type of skill sets, but China has been contributing in the form of their scholarship to the skill space of our people. Mm-hmm. If you look at the international relations, we have so many students that have now done their masters in international relations, talking more to the issues of the peaceful coexistence, because the nature of diplomatic relations and the foreign policy of China is based more on the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. Mm-hmm. And it's on those bases, when our students go to China, they learn the foreign service arrangements, and they are more particularly involved in diplomatic relationship. And truly speaking, the scholarship have assisted our students in shaping their diplomatic skills, those that studies in diplomatic areas.
Dr. Simata, how have the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence influenced Namibia's approach to regional peace and security? Can you perhaps provide examples of Namibia's involvement in regional peacekeeping efforts?
Yes, Namibia has been involved, as you know. Maybe we talk how the 5 principles you are asking, how they have been involved, helped us in the peacekeeping arrangements. You should understand that Namibia, maybe let me come back to the issue of 1953. When 1953, the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence were being discussed, they also informed the principles of the non-aligned movement. And it's the non-aligned movement countries that were really supporting Namibia and the whole Southern Africa's independence. To that extent, it's for that reason that if you look at our constitution in terms of Article 96, it borrows significantly from the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. Article 96 of our constitution, I cannot remember clearly, but talks more about the promotion of international cooperation and peace and security. It also talks about the creation and the maintenance, I think, of mutual benefits between nations. And this is what the principles of coexistence that were done already in 1956 also talks to. Mm-hmm. So my argument and discussion and understanding has been that our Article 96 of our Constitution has borrowed heavily from the 5 principles of peaceful existence. Mm-hmm. And it's for these reasons that we have participated in other peacekeeping missions, such as the Estimo in Liberia, Sudan, South Sudan, Mozambique quite recently, the DRC, and many other countries. And we have contributed to annual peacekeeping budgets to the UN, to the AU, and to SADC. And this is because we have abided to the principles of the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, which is borrowed most heavily from our constitution. Quite recently, as you may recall, Namibia is implementing the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, which we sponsored ourselves as Namibia. That is with regard to the establishment of the International Women Peace Center, mm-hmm. which was championed by our Vice President now, when she was still the Minister of International Relations. So the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, in my view, they have influenced the international community, particularly in terms of foreign policies. And ours has enjoyed heavily Article 96 of our Constitution. in my view, borrows extensively from the principles of peaceful coexistence.
Well, Dr. Simata, that's all the time we have this evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for inviting me to your show.
That was Dr. George Simata speaking to us via Zoom. When we come back after this brief break, our conversation this evening continues. Stay with us.